Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Two Pros podcast. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about training aids. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, pal. Looking forward to tonight's episode. It's something that we both love, and we have a lot of these training aids in our tour bag. So, Joe, just to kind of kick us off and just tell us the importance of having training aids and the kind of training aids that you have in your bag.
So first and foremost, I think the important thing is talk to your kind of local pro or whoever teaches you about the correct training aids for your game. We said previous to this that it's very easy to spend a lot of money on something that may not work on your game. The big advantage to having them is you actually get feedback on what you're doing, and that's what most of these training aids are designed to do, is either visual, audio, or kind of physical feedback to something that you're trying to change within your game. Now, I've seen plenty of people on the range go, oh yeah, I'm working this, and it's this feel. And Tiger's always said it, the kind of feel versus real phenomenon, that you can feel like you're doing something, but it not actually be fully what you're trying to do. So some of these training aids will help reinforce that feeling and hopefully give you the feedback of if you're doing it correctly or how you're doing it incorrectly, so you can learn and benefit from that.
Yeah, great. And we're going to split them into two categories. So we're going to do long game, short game. And what we also want to kind of reiterate that the majority of these training aids tonight that we're going to talk about are in our tour bags. We coach with them on a day-to-day basis. We've actually purchased them. None of these kind of products have kind of been gifted to us in a way. It's all about that kind of, we practice what we preach. We like the product, so it sits in our tour bags, which is so positive for us.
Yeah, massively. Like you say, I wouldn't want to kind of preach something here that you wouldn't come to me in a lesson and use. Like you say, we've gone out and bought them because we like them, and they've made this list because they actually work. And these are probably some of the most beneficial bits that you can pick up to help your own game.
Yeah. Shall we kick off, Joe? Shall we go long game?
Yeah, let's have a look into the long game.
Cool. First one, and as Joe said, they're in no particular order, really. They're just ones that we've got in our tour bag. And the first one that came to mind for me is by a company called Tour Striker. It's a smart ball. It's something that helps connection. And what we mean by connection is everything working together. So for people who are watching this, you'll see the picture pop up now. But for people on the podcast channels, it's a ball. It's an inflatable ball with a little bit of a lanyard on it, attaches to the ball. Objective of this is to hit a golf shot with the ball between your forearms and for you to stay connected and the ball not to drop out. It kind of, towards you get to the through swing and the follow through, yes, it can drop out, but the objective of the game is to try and keep it as connected with your golf swing for as long as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a piece of kit that I've used in the past myself for my own long game. I really love that one. I think, like you say, developing that feel of connection and where the arm should be in comparison to the torso is a very, very important thing. And more so than anything, it sets a consistent feel rather than what it should be, because there is no exact with that. Obviously, people are going to be different heights and everything. They are adjustable as well, that you can set to your own height and kind of swing pattern. So yeah, it's a great bit of kit.
Yeah, again, I know the PGA professional who created this. He's an amazing guy called Martin Chubb. I met him when I was on the bus on the way back from the PGA show on the demo day, and just kind of sat next to him. We got chatting. I was like, well, I've got your products, my tour bag. And we've kept in touch through Instagram and the channel since. But yeah, this is about £49 UK wise. I know people might go, wow, for inflatable ball, £49. But it's something, it's not going to go away, Joe. And I don't know about you, but I've seen people try the cheaper versions and they've lasted 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think there's always kind of knockoffs, and within certain areas of it, it's going to be okay. But I think the real thing on that one, for the stability of the ball, it's not going to pop or anything like that. You want that kind of rigidity that ball does offer. So for me, that's worth paying. But I think the other thing is, you're looking at, like you say here, an investment. And we're not saying by any means go out and buy everything on these lists. These are specific bits that will help your game. So I think if you suffer with connection, £50, 10 range sessions, it's cost you less than a bucket of balls per range session.
Yeah.
Only buy it if you're going to use it, but it will help you if you do.
Yeah. And as Joe said, ask your pro. Ask your pro what you're working on in your lessons, and ask your pro what training aids could help me at home, in the garden, or when I'm practicing on my own.
Yeah, massively.
Joe, do you want to do us a little short game one?
So kind of first one I want to cover is just a simple metal ruler. Really, really useful putting device to use. So it's something that's not overly expensive. There are expensive versions of it, but for me, I think at the price it comes in at, it's a fantastic one to kind of chuck into the bag. So the whole idea is, if you've got the meter long, kind of inch wide ruler, is to get the ball rolling down that. And it's all to do with kind of club face control. So if it falls off to the right hand side of the ruler for a right-handed golfer, then that club face is open. If it falls off to the left, club face closed. If you make it down the full length of kind of the meter long, then you're looking to have started the ball within a degree of error. And that converts roughly to a 15, 20 foot putt going in the center of the hole if you've read it right. So I think it's a really good one to kind of chuck into the bag. I did actually have a check earlier, and they come in at about $3.99 on Screwfix. So they're not an expensive one, and it's something that I would say to everybody, get it in the bag. And I think the other thing I really like about it, with it being 3 foot, it's easy enough to kind of chuck down on the hole, and it gives you an idea of that line. It actually shows you the line of the putt, if it's fairly straight, that you can start to work with then. So yeah, it's a definite favourite of mine, and absolutely love that one.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's a great piece of kit to get in your golf bags. My kind of next long game one is something that another PGA Pro called Jamie Britton created during the first lockdown. It's called the swing plate. And this, for me, is a massive bugbear as a coach on the range, that you can't really put a drill stick into the ground to demonstrate swing playing. So Jamie's come up with a nice heavy plate that goes onto the ground, sits really nice and proud, and you put your sticks in either for your start line on the ground or your swing plane, going through the player's hip area there. So it's just a great little supporting aid, and there's so much versatility with it. You can get really creative with it as well. What do you think, Joe?
I love it. I think it's an important one to have. Purely because, like you say, on the range, you haven't really got anywhere that you can stick tour sticks in. Obviously, you might have to set up a basket, and it's an absolute nightmare. But also, when you're on grass, you can't always get the angle that you want a player's swing plane to be at. So to have something like that that's adjustable simply with a spanner, and I believe the new one's actually got the degrees on the side of it that you can set.
Yeah,
it's very, very easy to set it up. If you look at it and go, right, okay, we want it a bit higher, or okay, now you're naturally flattening it out, we can adjust that to make it work for you. And I think that's a massive thing, because you can note it down, get the player to note it down in the phone as well, and simply then you've got a consistent set every time.
Yeah, love it. It's around about £59, depending on what channel you jump on and grab it from. Alignment sticks don't come included with it, but I imagine a lot of us out there now have got alignment sticks, and you can pick them up for £4 or £5. They're not very expensive at all.
No, and I think for any kind of pros listening to it, it's a must to pop in the bag. Even if you just have one in the shop, it's a fantastic little bit of kit to have. If everybody chips in and uses it, it really is a good bit of kit. Yeah,
and I know now Jamie, as Joe said, angles, customization. He's got an extension rod to this one now as well. So there's lots of exciting things happening with swing plate.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing where it goes. So I'm going to chuck in a little bit of, should we call it nostalgia? Sergio Garcia's puttable. For anybody that doesn't know this, it is probably one of the most frustrating kind of things you'll use, but it makes such a big difference to your game. So the whole idea of it is, it's a putter shaft with essentially a weighted golf ball on the end, glued into place. And the idea is that it's all to do with kind of your sweet spot control. So for somebody that comes over the top or strikes the putt out the heel or the toe, you're going to see immediate feedback because the ball's going to shoot off right, left, any kind of direction going, dependent on how severe that is. The good news is if you get it spot on, the ball will roll and you can actually hold putts with it. So it's a really interesting bit of kit because it's something I see so often, and kind of learning all about energy loss within the putt when you've had one dead in the jaws because you've squared the face perfectly, you've struck it out the toe and it just hasn't got there. This is a really good one to kind of work on with that.
I love it. You can pick them up online, Joe, can't you? eBay and places like that now, quite cheap.
£9 is all it costs. So what I wanted to do with this as well is chuck in options that were affordable, something with a few weeks to go before hopefully we can get to courses. If you want to really have one last run at improving, you can get all of this without breaking the bank.
I love it. Yeah, really cool. Next one for me, worked with this company for a long time. We used to actually test the materials for them that they used to use for these products and see if I could break them pretty much. So there's a company called Fat Plate. Joe, both of us know the guys pretty well. For me, it's a cool product because one of the most frustrating things as a coach for me is it's a little bit lack of understanding from a golfer. Is it turf then ball? Is it ball then turf? This device just helps and puts that argument to bed, really, doesn't it? It's ball then turf with this device.
Yeah, massively. I think as much as anything, like you say, it gives that visual cue that you are going to strike the ball and then take your divot. I absolutely love it. It's in my bag regularly for any long game lessons I do. I just think it's a fantastic bit of kit to use, chipping, long game irons kind of thing. It's just immense.
Yeah. So the objective of it sits in a little channel. The golf ball does. There's a little almost impact strip that sticks down onto the plate. And what you've got to try and do is, as name of the game really, to get the ball without hitting or making contact with the plate behind the golf ball. If you do that, and you'll be surprised how far some people hit it. I've actually had a guy, Joe, hit the handle, the carry handle, so it's probably about 2 foot behind the golf ball, and snapped his pitching wedge. But it was all him because he just his contact was nowhere near the golf ball.
I suppose the good news for you testing the materials is you know that that's probably tougher than a wedge shaft. So yeah, there's a bonus to that. But yeah, I think it's such a fantastic bit of kit. And for anybody that kind of doesn't know them, the closest thing that it really is a strike board for when you're fitting. Yeah. So it's like a fitting board with a slot cut out of it. And it really is a great bit of kit because once again, with those strike strips, you can see your path as well. So you can see if you're way into out to win, and if there is any tendencies when you clip that mat, where you've actually been coming from. Yeah. And also, just to add on, they do make a really good putting plate as well. The putt plate is something that's in my bag as well. Great for kind of indoor use. That I think it's probably one of the all-in-one features that I've seen from kind of a putting aid. And yeah, I've got so much respect for guys for building those because they haven't bought loads out, but they've bought 2 bits of kit that really, really work.
Quality. And there's a lighter version, there's a standard version, there's one with a little bit of turf if you're on the driving range, there's one for grass ranges, but it's light. And the beauty of it is they both fit in your pockets. So the putting mat and the kind of the Fat Plate original, they both sit in your golf bag pockets really neatly, really nicely.
Yeah, really good training aid all round.
Cool.
I'm going to take a slightly different now. Going to what's called an eyeline golf putting rod. Okay. Now, for anybody that's kind of been watching a lot of social media, you see a lot of golfers with their kind of alignment stick attached to the back of the putter into the chest. Now, I can tell you from past experience, the pointed part of those alignment sticks hurt. Flip them over, they can scratch your putter if you've got a covered putter as well. As where this is basically a collapsible rod that you can set up 2 rubber ends. It's not too uncomfortable to play with. And what the idea is that's going to create a little bit more contact between yourself and the putter. So much like the actual strike ball does sitting between your arms, this is creating that length of lever that you're not going to get inside and start to lose the width of your putting stroke, but you're not going to go away from it as well, or the rod would drop out. So I think it's a really good one to build a relationship with the putter head. And more importantly, then people start to learn that the hands aren't the action of the putter, it comes from the body. So if ever we're given a putting lesson, it's almost for a right-handed golfer, the movement coming out the back of your left shoulder blade. So having that there makes you turn rather than allowing your hands to come out of place. So it's a great one if you're a little bit wonky with path. I definitely recommend that. And there's nothing better than getting on the putting green first thing in the morning, chucking the ruler down, chucking the rod in, and just using those two together. They're £25 on Amazon, so it's a little bit more expensive. So if you don't want to do that, go with the drill stick, but just be kind of a little bit careful with it. But there's two drills there that you can pair up really nicely kind of pre-game, and it make a real difference to you.
Love it. Love it. And again, for these kind of things, it's just about simulating the feel and trying to make it real for when you're actually on the golf course and you've got something that works. And we've tested these. We know they all work, which is great. My next one, it was something that you introduced me to, Joe. It's the Gravity Fit T-Pro yellow bands. Just if you want to kind of touch on what are these all about, Joe? What's the benefit for golf with the Gravity Fit?
So once again, that kind of feel of a little bit of tension in the body. So the idea is there is a little pad that goes on your back, a spiky ball that goes in the middle, and two contact points on the back. And instead of being hunched in, shoulders rounded, it pulls the shoulders back that little bit and gets you into a really good posture to be able to swing almost around the spine a little bit more. So this, I would suggest, is probably more for your coaches. But to create the feel and create a consistent turn is a fantastic bit of kit. I know we've both used it on the range to hit wedges. I've used it in lessons to hit putts where you are, especially for putting, quite crouched in. It's not going to create a good movement, as where pinch the shoulders back and allow yourself to use the bigger muscles, kind of shoulder, chest and back. It's a great piece of kit that fixes a lot of problems very quickly. The only thing is, like we said at the start, I would talk to your pro about if that's going to be something that you need, because it's a lot of money to spend if you don't. But using it out on the range, it's one of those that you'll hit 5 shots warming up with and immediately get that feel for the rest of the range session.
So around about £53, the device is from various outlets in the UK and overseas as well. And for me, it helps as well because bit of core, bit of strength training. You can use the other coloured bands that the guys use as well for a bit more resistance, and it can be more of a fitness and golf combination, which is really helpful to a lot of people out there.
Yeah, massively. I mean, we see a lot of kind of long game faults come from potentially core weakness that creates other parts of the swing to kind of have to look after that. So yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit that I'd seriously recommend to a lot of people.
Cool. What have you got, Joe?
So my next one is the Humble Putting Mirror. We've seen a lot of players using these now, probably more so in the last few years than we have before. So the main emphasis on this is eye position, so consistent eye alignment, and making sure everything's square to set up. So if you're set up, especially on a putting mat at the moment, kind of feet touching, you don't want your shoulders shut or open because it's going to influence the path of the putter and ultimately the face and where the ball goes. So having that consistent setup is fantastic to build that knowledge. So hit a few putts with your eyes over the ball, make sure everything's square, shoulders set to target, and then take it away for a few. Hit a few putts without, go back. And it's great for that kind of reference point of, I'm just going to put one in now to check, set up to where you feel right and look. And I'm surprised at how quickly you can creep back. So being conscious of it to get the eyes where they need to be is massively important. The good news with these is there's a massive amount of price ranges independent on what you want to do. So the simple, really cheap Masters ones that $12.99. So it's not a break the bank job. So then you kind of creep up a little bit. Put Out today released another one. Looks a really good bit of kit. And what I like with those is they have got face lines on them. So what you're doing is you're aligning your eyes, your shoulders, and the putter face to be square to your target. And that's a great starting point to then execute a good stroke. as we go up the price range a little bit, there is the new put out one as well. So they've released an oval one and the actual square one with the gates in. So the gates obviously then are a little bit more path orientated as well if you want to do more. And then the top end one is one we spoke about in the past, is back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I would call kind of the ultimate putting mirror. It's got the arc in so you can test your backstroke as well. It's got T-peg positions in that when you're on the green, you can make sure you're in position. And it also comes with 4 gates for the ball to go through. So you can really then start to go eye alignment, shoulder alignment, face square, backswing good, start the ball on line. Mm-hmm. So that's up there at £65. But I think for what it includes, it's well worth the money that you spend on it, because you're obviously going to find multiple improvements with that as you go on.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, good range choice and something again that can sit in your golf bag and help you a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. My kind of final one is, again, you've got a couple of options here. It's strike spray. So this was introduced to me 3 or 4 years ago. When I was coaching on a driving range one night, I saw a coach get some spray out and spray it on the club face. It was to see where impact position was. And you don't have to go and spend a lot of money on this. The strike spray is a branded one out there, around about 30 quid for 3 cans. But you can also use athlete's foot spray, dry shampoo. They both do the same objective, don't they, really? It's cool, especially for my hairline. It'll help me, the dry shampoo will.
There's just so many options, isn't there? You can look after yourself whilst looking after your game. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but again, just another quick bit of feedback for a player. So if you just want to look at strike, where it's coming out, if it's coming out the middle, it's coming out the toe, is it coming out the heel, top, bottom, wherever, it'll give you that instant feedback. And what I would say is, if you're going to not get this kind of tour strike spray, I'd go for a more of a make in the athlete's foot spray, a Scholl or a Babyliss with the dry shampoo, because the better. Because I've used the cheaper ones, it just falls, it just runs off, doesn't stick to the face.
Got you. Yeah, I think it's important to know as well, once again, feels, that a lot of people don't always know what a feel is. So they'll hit one out the toe and go, oh yeah, I middled it. Or they'll hit one out the middle and go, oh, I've heeled it. So to have that reference point, and it's great as a bit of a guessing game where you can hit one and go, I think that's out of the toe. Mm-hmm. And you can start to calibrate your feel to what's actually going on the club face. Yeah. So I think it's really important, especially for kind of the iron side of it, where you go, oh, I think I've bottomed it. Mm. Sometimes that can be the perfect strike point, and you can start to really learn what it should feel like.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, just nice, another little one for feedback. What's your final one, Joe?
The final one is phantom holes. So all these are really simple, like little rubber discs that go on the ground. You can get them in 1s or 3s. So I love these because they're a little bit more about distance control. So you'll see a lot of, on practice days like the Open, coaches will carry them around, simulate hole positions. So that's great. If you're out the course, you know the pins are going to be somewhere, you can practice to them. But also for indoors at the moment, so out on the putting mat, I always have a couple. And what I like about it is, because the putt doesn't actually go in the hole, it will still run past as far as it would have done if it misses. Mm-hmm. So I see loads of people, 3-footers, absolutely belting them in, that's denting the back of the cup, and they're going, oh yeah, fantastic. And you think, the second you miss one, you're screaming 3-putt. So this is perfect to develop that kind of foot past theory and that feel to create it. And you can change the position with them. You can chuck them out as far as you want and create that almost ideal feel for you. The other thing I like them for, when you're practicing and you start to see a little bit of break in a putt, is to map the putt out. So what point has it got to start over? Where's the apex of the putt? Where's its final bit before it drops in the hole? And then what that gets you to do is not only aim at kind of a whole line, but then you've got to start it on the right speed for it to run over all 3 and drop in the hole. And if not, you can start to see, okay, it started there, it was too fast because it missed the middle one on the top side, or it was too slow because it missed the third one on the bottom. So you can start to map your putts really well and educate yourself more on speed as well as line. So then you start matching it perfectly. And I think that's such a massive thing to be able to putt better.
Yeah. Real versatile. What we're talking money-wise, Joe?
15 to £20. But also if you're at home listening to this and want to give it a try, simple as you've got coasters, the ball will roll over those. So they're a doddle to kind of use, especially if you're setting one out a little bit further away and just wanting to see how far the ball's going to go past.
Yeah, I love it. And for us, kind of as pros, it's great just to have lots of options to use these products. That I think tonight what we've illustrated is there's multiple uses for the training aids that you're going to buy or you're potentially going to buy.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is you don't necessarily want just a one training aid for one part of your game. If a training aid particularly can improve multiple parts, then that's going to be the best training aid for you. Like I say, this isn't a case of go and buy everything off both lists. Go and speak to your pro and find out what is going to be the best thing for you. And if you go to them and say, right, I've got £20 to spend, what would you suggest I get? Then they will know your game in a capacity to say, oh, I think, yeah, this would suit you.
Yeah, I love
because
it.
I mean, we've seen it. You can go out, you can buy half of Amazon and eBay, and some of the stuff that we've used, you'll use once, pop in a coaching bag, and it not be used until you find somebody else that suffers with the same kind of problem.
Yeah, and I think for coaches out there, you'll have your favourites. I think for amateurs or aspiring golfers to improve, go and speak to your pro, go and see what you're using in lessons, and if it will benefit you away from lessons, go and get it. But as Joe says, don't go and kind of litter our list and put them in your Amazon shopping basket just quite yet. Go and ask your pro first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the takeaway for this one. And the right stuff will improve your game very, very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally with you, mate. I think another great podcast. I think what we've done tonight is, I know it's been heavy product, but it's been heavy product that's potentially going to improve your game, long game and short game.
Yeah, massively. It's about the improvements and the takeaways from it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, Joe, thank you for tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed tonight's session.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as always.
And thank you everybody out there for listening, for watching. And next podcast, we are going to talk about taking your practice to the golf course. So it's probably the most common question I get from golfers. I can hit the ball on the range or on the practice mat perfect, but when I get on the golf course, it goes to pot. So me and Joe are going to share some insights, some little tips and hints that are going to help you take that practice and hopefully shoot lower scores when you're out on the golf course.
I look forward to it.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.